Hi, Mr. Shapiro. I'm Holden Clark from Louisville, Kentucky, St. Xavier High School. I was wondering, today you talked a lot about living a virtuous lifestyle, and I feel like a lot of people in our generation don't have a purpose to live a virtuous lifestyle, and I was wondering if you think the left has contributed to this problem, and if the right has some type of solution.
Yes, so I think that there are a few interwoven problems with the lack of virtue in society. So I think, first of all, the left has decided that virtue itself is something that is too restrictive. It means that there's expectations for your behavior. And the left doesn't like expectations for behavior. The left wants to do whatever it wants to do. They're like my 2-year-old child. They want to run around, and they want to pee on the floor, and they want to break things, and they want everybody else to pay for it. And so when you suggest, well, you know what, you can't have freedom without being a virtuous person, they're saying, well, why are you putting your standards on me, man? And the answer is because without those standards, you can't have freedom. And leftists know this too, which is why they end up having all this government regulation, because without virtuous people, you do have to have government regulation to prevent us from harming each other. So I think that the left really does object to basic concepts of virtue. I will say that I think the right has stopped talking about virtue in any serious way. So I think that this started in churches and synagogues, when people stopped talking about virtue as something to follow and started talking about spirituality and faith rather than the life that you should aspire to, which is living in accordance with right reason and God's will in the sort of Thomistic, in the Thomas Aquinas model, or in the model of Maimonides in Judaism, which is very close to the Thomas Aquinas model. But you know, the talk of virtue in the right-wing community has gone away as well, because everybody's so ensconced in the political fight right now that we forget that what is actually in the end going to preserve the country is not the political fights that are happening right now. It's going to have to be a renewal and a resurgence of personal virtue in an interpersonal context. We're going to have to be good to each other. We're going to have to act virtuously. We're going to have to use our reason, right? The way Aristotle defined virtue was acting in accordance with right reason. We're going to have to put our feelings aside and act in accordance with right reason, look at the universe and say, what is it that the universe is saying to us to do, right? That was basic Greek teleology, the idea that the word teleology comes from the Greek word, root telos, which means goal or purpose. Right? The Greeks believed that if you just looked at the world, you could see that there were certain things that were designed to do certain things. Right? So a hammer is designed to hammer. And that's how you know a good hammer is a hammer that performs that function. A good person is designed to reason. And a good person is a person who performs that function. And the Greeks believed this, and the Jews and the Christians believed in Judeo-Christian values, which is largely a reflection of that. And the merger of those two philosophies creates the West. And I think that we've completely lost all of that. The good news is I have an entire book coming out about it next year, so you can read it in more depth about all of this. But I think that is the fundamental disconnect happening in our society. I think the fundamental disconnect, and it's why I've started talking about virtue a lot more, because I think it's important, is that virtue has gone the way of the dodo bird, and we're all filling that God-shaped hole in our heart and that virtue-shaped hole in our heart with a lot of animus against other people in our society. And we believe that if we just pass the right law, or if we just repeal the right regulation, America will be healed, and it's not true. What's actually going to heal America is the renewal of a social fabric based on individual purpose, communal capacity, and individual capacity. We all have to feel like we can get together and do things that are worthwhile in the world, and that there's a reason to do those things in the world.
Thank you.